So African spirituality is the understanding that your ancestors came from the stars. The Zulus in South Africa say that their ancestors came from the stars, not on spaceships, but by incarnation into this physical dimension. So African spirituality sets a person free. It reconnects you and your creator. It gives you a direction in your life spiritually. It impacts your entire life.
Today, I'm so excited about this conversation. This is a conversation that I was looking forward to, to have. Basically, Arvie is someone that I really respect. I respect him as a person, but also, for all the work that he's doing. So today, he's here to talk to us about African spirituality. And oh boy, you are here for a treat because African spirituality is his thing, and I just love the way he shares the wisdom. So let's get started. Hello, Arvie. How are you today?
Hi, Zola. So excited to be here on this platform. I'm so excited. Self upgrade.
Yeah, self upgrade, because I think that we all needs to be, at some point we all need some upgrade, really, because we cannot go through life, with the same ways that we've been behaving, and the same, thoughts. At some point we need to up level. We need to
Absolutely.
go up and, to learn new things and to meet new people, because they're going to help to open our perspectives. So, that's the whole concept, to self upgrade. Don't wait for the upgrade to come from the outside, but it has to come from inside.
Yes,
It's something that, happens inside out, you see?
absolutely.
So, yeah, I hope
Brilliant.
you like the name.
That's absolutely brilliant. Wow.
And before we move on, you just
Mm.
said, I greeted you and you said Zola. Can you explain, like, what does Zola mean?
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much for that question. And thank you for our viewers who are watching Self Upgrade. One of the amazing podcasts you can ever be on. So I hope you're next.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you're next. Zola means love in the language of Kikongo. And when we say Mume Zola Nge, it means I love you. So Zola is
Oh.
basically the word for love in Kikongo. It has a very deep vibration in it. And it's what represents everything in the universe, and what represents our creator is that particular word,
Mhm.
which is love. And Zola means love.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's beautiful, because I noticed that, each time that I greet you, when I say, oh, hello, RV, how are you today? And you'll be like, Zola. I'm like, oh, Zola. But what does it mean? You see? So I'm really happy. That's the first thing that, I learned today. So thank you for sharing.
Wow.
And so, RV, before we move on, please, can you tell the people who are listening to the podcast or who are watching the podcast on YouTube, can you just tell them a little bit, about yourself and also your work, what you're doing with Zola Bantu, please?
Wow. My name is, I'm well known by my family and friends that I grew up with as Avi. And the name is basically a combination of my mom and my dad's name. That's Arthur and Vivian. So they chose to call me Avi.
Oh,
So my
that's
siblings sometimes.
beautiful. I mean, wow, that's amazing, because I was asking my husband, like, RV, that's very, very original. I never heard anyone called like that.
Whoa.
And he was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it's from. It's probably from his, ancestry
Yeah.
or something like that. Oh,
Honestly,
okay.
it is such a beautiful combination. Sometimes my siblings think as if I'm the favorite. They gave me their names and things like
Oh,
that. But
wow.
that's the name Avi. Basically, what I'm more known by my friends who I grew up with. They call me basically Avi.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was renewing my passport, my mom and my dad gave me my uncle and grandfather's name, which is Jean, is my grandfather's name, and Jacques is
Mm-hmm.
my uncle's name, the man that helped my father through his education. So they gave me Jean
Okay.
Jacques Ngalangala. So in my original documents, in my passport is written Jean Jacques. There's no Avi there, but people know me
Oh,
as
that's a
Avi.
shame.
Yeah, it is. It is. Anyway, Jean Jacques means
Yeah.
John James for those who are more aligned with the Bible. They know that Jacques is James, and then Jean means John. So Jean Jacques
Okay.
is my legal name on the legal documents, but Arvie is my well-known name by my friends and families. So that's basically my name, and I'm currently I'm 29 years old. I've only been
Wow.
in this incarnation, but I'm older than that spiritually. I'm sure many of you know.
Yeah. You know what? That's what I was going to say. I was like, oh my God, you're
Mhm,
so like, you the wisdom that you inspire
mhm,
and that we feel in your presence,
mhm,
that's something I will say that for someone who is like 80,
mhm.
so
Exactly.
you are basically an old soul and we can feel it.
I'm definitely an old soul. I've been here countless times. So this is just an outfit I'm wearing, which is much younger. So the physical outfit that I'm wearing is 29 years old. Was created just 1994. But the
Hmm.
spirit that's in me is an old person, an older person that has been in this particular sphere so many countless times. So that's what I can
Yeah.
say about myself. And in terms of my background, I was born in the Congo. It means in the heart of Africa, Congo DRC, in the capital
Yeah.
city, Kinshasa. And then I spent a few 8 years in the Congo, and then moved away from Congo to Zimbabwe. My father was working as a doctor in Zimbabwe, Zambia, and in Malawi. So I completed high
Mhm.
school in Malawi. For those who are in Malawi, in Ilongwe, Mulibwanji, and then
Right.
that was high school in Malawi, and then back in the Congo in 2011. And went to study architecture in India. Spent almost 7 years plus in India studying,
Hmm.
and that's basically in terms of my background as a family. So we were basically grew up as Catholics when we were in the Congo, and then by the time we moved to Zimbabwe, we became more Protestant, and then when we were in Zambia, we became more Pentecostal. So we had this movement also,
Oh,
so spiritually as well.
wow.
Yeah, but higher education was basically in India. Such an amazing place in New Delhi, in Gurgaon. For those who are there, Namaste. Such a beautiful place. I learned a lot of things over there in India, and that is where I actually began to get this big slap to wake up and begin to ask important questions about life. So architecture was
Hmm.
basically the phase of education, and then when I completed, now I spent maybe a few years there. It was 2 years, and then I was back here in the Congo, in Lubumbashi, where I'm currently working in the construction sector, Katanga Construction, as an architect, and just trying to help this physical body survive. But
Yeah. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
so
I
the
mean, I love that. I love how you ended it, because some people think that, oh, I'm spiritual, so I can just, meditate,
ex-
all day long and forget about the bills but we live in duality basically.
Mhm.
There's the physical and the spiritual, and you have to take care of both. And
Exactly.
like you said, architecture is like your physical life, but and as an old soul, you know exactly why you are here,
Mhm,
which I love.
mhm,
Because for me, like for a long time, I was just wandering around, asking myself, like, who am I?
mhm,
I'm here, it's great,
mhm.
but why am I here?
Exactly. That's
Why
very
am
true.
I here? And like you said, recently, because I work in digital marketing as well.
Mm,
So when I got that call, I was like, it doesn't really go with my life. Like, I'm a professional, I'm a
mm,
businesswoman. I want, tell me to talk about digital marketing, but you want
mhm,
me to go and talk
mhm.
about spirituality. What do
Exactly.
I know about spirituality? I'm
Mhm.
only, I only got into that now. So,
Even though we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, the physical outfit that we wear, you need to
mhm,
bring it to excellence. Because many people, when they become spiritual, they say, I won't go to work anymore. I'll stop doing this
yes,
anymore. But knowing that you have to excel even in the skills that you have acquired in school. So it's really, really important for our children to go to school, to become lawyers, to become teachers, to become engineers. Because some people, when they become
Yeah.
spiritual, all of a sudden he goes and spend all his day under a tree like Buddha. No. You have
Meditate.
meditating. No, you have to allow yourself to impact the world, and the only way you can do it is in the skills that you do. So, like I said, I'm an
Mhm.
architect. I'm an architect. That is for my bread. The scripture
Yeah,
says that man shall not live only on bread alone, but on
mm-hmm.
everything that proceeds from the mouth of the Creator. It means the bread that we use to sustain our physical self is also
Mm-hmm.
important, even though the spirit on inside of us exists by having a connection with Tata Nzambe, but our physical experience is also very, very much important. So if you enter into a
Yeah,
car, if you enter into the car, taking care of the car is also very important for you to be able to drive it. So I
definitely.
encourage young people out there to become excellent doctors. If you want to be a pilot, if you want to be a nurse, excel. At the same time, also feed your spiritual side of yourself. So I'm so happy that
Mm.
the Queen has been able to invite us in this platform today. And being in a university in the third year, that is when I began to wake up spiritually. I went through
Mm-hmm.
a particular set of information that began to make me question everything that I was. So I went through almost 6 years of what we call a conflict within myself. So
Mm.
my lower self and my higher self were in a constant battle, So there was this battle, Queen Aida, between my lower self and my higher self. It's what the scriptures call as Cain and Abel, the twins. So you're having that constant battle because the lower self, the physical self, has been trained to behave in a certain way, with certain particular information. But when now the Mawungu, the spirit, begins to wake up, it begins to say,
Mm-hmm.
no, this is not how you're supposed to drive this car. So there's that conflict. So when I went through 6 years of conflict within myself to accept new
Wow.
information, which was contrary to everything that I was taught ever since I was young. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
battle. So everyone goes through this phase in spirituality where you begin to have a fight. Really? So this is not true. What I was told was not true. I'm not supposed to eat this way. I'm not supposed to live this
Mm-hmm.
way. I'm not supposed to,
Yeah.
maybe dress this way, speak this way. I shouldn't interact this way. So it became like a battle for me. It took me almost 6 years of this conflict. And when I came out, just like how a butterfly comes out of a cocoon, in a state of
Mm.
chrysalis, it was really
Yeah.
true freedom for me individually. When a rocket is about to set off the ground, the force of gravity and the force of the energy required to let it move from the force of gravity is very, very difficult. But once it leaves the
Mm-hmm.
force of gravity, the journey becomes much easier. So that's what I went through. So now I would say I am in my phase of being free. Now, this whole experience of 6 years took me into a phase of learning new information, which we now share in our platform known as Zolobantu. At first, it was known as Zealous Men, but I wanted to give it an African taste, an African identity, which I named it as
Mm-hmm.
Zolobantu, which means love people or people of
Mm-hmm.
love. And it has been a journey, Queen Aida, that has changed my life completely.
I mean, that's so beautiful, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing because I think when we go through, that's the spiritual awakening. When we go through our spiritual awakening, we feel
Mm,
like, like we feel lonely. I will say we feel lonely. I felt lonely,
mm,
because for me, you said that it took you 6 years, but for me, basically, I think it started, from the birth of my second child,
wow.
which was a bit, yeah, which was a difficult time for me and my husband.
Mhm,
So basically, it triggered, that pain and that some people will call it depression, but I
mm,
won't call it that way because it was just, a call for me to go inside
mm,
and check what was happening there. So
mm,
once I actually started, all the anguish and all the, what I mean, once I stopped looking outside,
mm.
once I stopped looking outside and started to go within to try and understand, what was happening inside of me, and was it really, that birth that, because he was born very early, and with that came lots of difficulties, and
Wow.
that plunged me, yes, into that very dark place. And it was incredible because it was in that dark place where I found the light.
Wow.
But I had to really look inside of me to see that, so it's really important to share these types of, our journeys, really, because when people come to, start to go through something like that and feel like, no one can understand me, I'm feeling lonely. Obviously we all have our own journeys, so we all, it happens differently for all of us,
Exactly.
you know but when it happens, it can be very, very painful.
It
For
is.
me, the, for 2 years, basically, I stopped going on social media. I
Wow.
had to stop completely. Yes,
Two
for two
years.
years. 2 years. I work in
Wow.
digital marketing, and it was so difficult because, for clients, obviously, I had to go, but I was like, for my personal accounts, and for, because basically, like I said, for
Mm.
me, it was a call to look inside of me and
Mm-hmm.
understand who I was and what I was doing here. And, the fact that there was so much noise with COVID and with, so many things going on in the world. So I just couldn't focus on myself. You can meditate for a few minutes, and then you go back into the world with all the noise, and you just, all the goodness that you got from the meditation will just, evaporate. So I was like, okay, I really need to go, hermit mode here. I need to
Wow.
cut off everything. So I did it. At first, it was quite difficult, but then it was really rewarding because, like I said, I understood lots of things during the process,
Wow.
and one of them being that, I also needed, all the things that I went through during that time that my baby was born. And to be
Wow.
honest with you, he's still going through quite of, I mean, it's fine, but he's still going through some difficulties in his life, and us with him, you see. So basically, it was just a call to, to go out there and basically try to strengthen people who are going through a rough time and be like, it's okay. You're
Wow.
not, you're not alone in this. There are lots of people going through that, but
Indeed.
it's not a punishment.
Right.
It's not a punishment. We
It's
have to be strong because it's just the universe trying to reinforce us. It's love, actually. Lots of
wow.
love from the universe. But
Wow.
as human beings, yeah, as human beings, we really struggle to see it that way. But I think it is love. That's what I learned through that journey.
Wow. Wow. Such a beautiful way to share that, Queen.
I mean, we could be here talking about, like, stuff like that forever. I just find it beautiful that, we are all different, but when we come together and start to talk to each other, we see so many similarities.
Hmm.
Because sometimes when you see people, you feel like, oh, I don't think they have any issues in their lives. But when you start talking to them,
Exactly.
when you start Yes, when you start talking to them, that's when you're like, oh, okay. So they don't go through what I'm going through, but they have their own issues going on. So yeah, I mean, it's just interesting, So Arvie,
Yes,
I
Queen.
mean, like you said, it was through during the awakening time that you came to question a lot of things in your life, and I guess that led you to African spirituality. So can you tell us a little bit about what is African spirituality, and what are the characteristics, really? Because I don't think that a lot of people know about African spirituality.
Wow, such a beautiful question, Queen, on African spirituality. African spirituality, honestly, my friends of Africa, those who are watching us, the viewers of Self Upgrade podcast, African spirituality is very vast. I have to be honest. It is very vast, especially because we have over 54 countries in Africa. We also have countries which have so many people of African origins, like in Brazil, you have many people from Africa in Brazil. Our ancestors who were taken out of Africa. We have others in Haiti. You have people in the Jamaica,
Mm,
so across the Caribbean. There are so many African people
yeah.
over there. So, because of a different experiences that each of us have gone through in our lives and even our ancestors, and also being spread across the entire globe, people have gone through different
Mm,
experiences in their own life that has given them a certain particular definition or understanding of the universe in their own way. But
mm.
spirituality in its entirety, it is universal. But
Okay.
when it descends in this physical dimension, it descends like the colors of the rainbows. If you look
Mm.
at the
That's
rainbow as
beautiful.
different colors, so if when it descends into different cultural spaces, people tend to receive it in a certain particular way depending on their spiritual maturity. So, depending on my spiritual maturity, the way I will receive that rays of the universe, I may interpret it in a certain particular way. So, if we say
Mm,
that this is African spirituality, maybe your understanding of how it's impacting in your life may be different from another person as well. That's why you have, if you go, for example, in Mali, in Gabon, the way they
mm,
practice their spirituality may be different from the way people practice spirituality, say, in India or in Asia. But are they
okay.
all wrong? No. It's how they are receiving it and impacting it in their particular culture. So when the light comes, when the spirituality from the universe, when we receive that download, it
Mm-hmm.
comes down in different colors, violet, blue, yellow, red. So the understanding of spirituality, I would like to first touch on spirituality in a universal level before looking at African spirituality. So, in the
Yeah.
universal level, the way that the Indians practice their spirituality is different from the way the Buddhists do, is different from the way the Muslims do, is different from the way different other people do their own spirituality. So, it's just like mathematics, the principle of mathematics is universal. But the way
Mm-hmm.
mathematics is applied in different spaces, it is cultural. So people
Yeah.
in India may use their mathematics to create window frames made of wood. We in Africa made window frames made of metal. So depending on
Mm-hmm.
your environment, you then take in the universal principle to apply it in the way that works for you. So in India, they will build buildings very high because there are a lot of people. There's less space. In Africa, we would build houses just on the ground floor because we have more space. You understand?
Yeah.
So growing towards spirituality came to make me understand that people are different and the way they understand things is different. So you cannot
Mm-hmm.
point your finger and say, I'm right or he's wrong. No. Because when I left Africa, I remember I was about to go and study in India. People literally prayed for me, Queen Aida. You are going to a place where they worship idols. You will be
Oh,
influenced. You are a Christian. They
oh
do,
my.
it's witchcraft. But when I arrived in India with my humility, I began to understand that their understanding of spirituality or how they define the creator is different. But if you enter
Mm,
in deep, you find that there is a certain level of love also in the way that they do things. So spirituality is universal, but when it descends into different spaces, it basically becomes part of their culture according to the way they live. Now, African spirituality, specifically, the way that I'll try to tackle it from the Congo ancestry understanding of spirituality is that
mm-hmm.
it has, I'll give a few definitions because it's really a complex. So African spirituality is living from the inward out and not the outward in. That is one
Okay.
definition. So in African
Mm-hmm.
ancestors, they understood that the one that lives inside of us is the one that needs to do the experience, not the one that is on the outside. So in African spirituality, our ancestors knew that it is actually the spirit that has life, that the physical body does not have life. So if you enter into a car, between the driver and the car, it is the driver that is living. The car is functioning because the driver is driving it. So the real person who is alive is actually the driver because when you leave the car stops. So in African spirituality,
Yeah,
we live
definitely.
from the inward out and not from the outward in. African
Mm-hmm.
spirituality, in second definition, is the understanding of the universe and the laws that govern the universe to allow
Yeah.
you as a spirit to either ascend or descend. That's another definition of African spirituality. African spirituality is living as Muntus. When we come together, we live in Ubuntu. So
Could you
African
explain?
spirituality is knowing that you, Queen Aida, a Muntu, it means a spiritual person. When you are a spiritual
Okay.
person in Kikongo, they say you are a Muntu. It means you manifest the values of the Mahat. It means you have
Mm.
love for your neighbor. You treat your neighbor as yourself. When you live in that sort of
Mm-hmm.
vibrational frequency where you treat others as yourself, you become a Muntu. And if you
Okay.
are a Muntu and I am a Muntu and we live in Ubuntu, then we become Bantus.
Okay.
So,
Oh, all right.
yes. So a Bantu is people who live in Ubuntu, who are Muntus.
So, I mean, sorry to cut you, in your explanation, but in that case, does that reveal something about the Bantu people?
This
Does
is
that mean that, we used to be spiritual, but we
exactly
just have forgotten about that side of, our being or our state of being, really?
exactly Queen Aida. The problem in today is that we have characterized Bantus to be a physical location. That if you're a Bantu, it means you are from the southern part of Africa. That is the
Mm-hmm.
problem. We have physicalized spiritual things. So a person who is in India can be a Bantu, and a person who is in Africa is
Okay.
not a Bantu.
Mm-hmm.
So a Bantu is a spiritual identity. If you live by practicing the principles of the Mahat, you are a Bantu, and it does not look at the color of your skin. So a Chinese can be a
Okay.
Bantu, a Hindu can be a Bantu, a white person can be a Bantu. But you, an African who is
Mm.
black, you are not manifesting spiritual values of Ubuntu, you are not a Bantu. But the problem, we've given a geography to Bantus, which is the problem that we have. But to be a Muntu is a spiritual identity. So Queen Aida, you are a Muntu. I am a Muntu. The good white people in England who have a heart of love are also Muntus. They are also Bantus. So that's
I mean,
basically.
Arvie, I mean, that just makes me think that, that confusion
Mhm.
was done, purposely, like the person or the group of people who did that, who said, okay, so you have these types of, your bodies are like this and that, so you will be the Bantu people. You know, isn't that a way to get us, to mislead us? For us to
Exactly.
feel like, okay, Bantu actually is refers to people's like physical shapes, like people with these types of shapes
Ex-
are Bantu. When you are
Exactly.
telling me that it doesn't have anything to do with that.
Absolutely not, Kunaida. I remember when we had a Solobantu community, we had a brother who came from East Africa. I think he's from Kenya. Now,
Mm-hmm.
they have put in our minds that even as Africans, there are people who are Bantus, there are people who are Neolithic. So an
Yes.
Ethiopian and a Kenyan and a Ugandan may feel as if they are Neolithic and the only Bantus are those who are in southern part of Africa. So he had a problem with the name of the organization being Zola Bantu. He wanted it to be Zola Umuntu because he felt like we're pushing them away. The Ethiopians are not Bantus.
Yeah.
But to be a Bantu, it is a spiritual identity. It has nothing to do with how you look physically or how your nose is shaped or how your skin color. This is the problem that we have. So it's true, Queen, what you just said. They gave us these identities to separate us, and they
Yes.
strictly focus on our physical outlook. But like I said, in African spirituality, it is the spirit that lives. This is the issue that we have. So to be a Bantu is to practice the laws of the Mahat. In Egypt, it was 42 laws of the Mahat. The Israelites were given the 10 commandments. If you live these things in your life, then you are a Bantu. This is basically
Wow.
the meaning of Bantu. So African spirituality is anybody who basically adheres and manifests the values of being a Bantu. So if you look at, for example, in the scriptures, they'll say people who began to live like the Israelites were asked to be circumcised. It means they had to accept certain values to be accepted as their own people. Even though some circumcision was
Mm-hmm.
not physical, it was more of a circumcision of your mind. It was a mind change. You came with a behavior of a killer. Now you like to love people. That was the circumcision. It was spiritual. A change of your lifestyle was basically the circumcision to accept the values of African people. So African spirituality, Queen Aida, is basically that, to understand that this is not your home, that you come from a different place, that life on earth is just temporarily for this physical body, but the spirit
Yes.
continues to live. So how you live right now will determine what happens to you in your next life. So African ancestors were not scared of death. They were not scared of physical death because they knew that there was life even after death. So to have a
Mm-hmm.
few cars and millions of dollars in your bank account was not the purpose, because they knew that was a much bigger life than that. But people who do not know about African spirituality, they are very scared of death. And this is why they like to accumulate riches, thinking that life is YOLO, you only live once. But no, so African spirituality is the understanding that your ancestors came from the stars. The Zulus in South Africa say that their ancestors came from the stars, not on spaceships, but by incarnation into this physical dimension. So African spirituality sets a person free. It reconnects you and your creator. It gives you a direction in your life spiritually. It impacts your entire life. So when you have people who understand who they are spiritually on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
then they are practicing true African spirituality, because now we have other sorts of African spirituality. For example, if you go in other places, they are practicing so-called African spirituality by sacrificing
Mm-hmm.
animals and practicing voodoo, even though voodoo was sort of done in the correct way, but now it has been polluted with Western principles on the inside. So African
Yeah.
spirituality does not kill life to give life. African spirituality does not shed blood for so-called practices and so-called purposes. Yeah, so African spirituality that is being practiced today with all this sacrifice of animals and shedding of blood, that is not true African spirituality, because African spirituality protects life. It is
Mm.
pro-life. But
Yes.
today people are practicing, saying, okay, for me to do a few incantations for you, bring a chicken, bring a goat, we'll do this, and then we'll be able to do this. Those are manipulation. That is not African spirituality. So that's the way we have completely lost our way. African spirituality is founded on love. Love is the biggest sacrifice you can ever make. But you don't need to sacrifice anything else apart from your own life in alignment with the principles of the Mahat. You don't need to
Mm.
shed any blood or kill an animal. Why would you have to kill something that is innocent to be able to do something? No. So that is not African spirituality. So this may be very controversial, because I know many people are practicing this. I once consulted a priest in Kenya. He asked me to send him money to buy a goat, to kill a goat to help me in some of the things I was going through. I'm like, whoa, I blocked him completely. You know,
Wow.
so we have lost our ways in African spirituality, even to the point where, and this sacrifice of animal has been even included in religion these days, to the point where we claim that someone's life was given to save us.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate. So
Yeah.
that's
I
basically
mean,
an overview of African spirituality.
yeah. I mean, that's beautiful what you're saying there. I mean, just summarizes. I know it was a very tricky question, and like you said, it's quite broad because we cannot say African spirituality is this. But I asked you the question because just for you, like, to do exactly what you did there, to summarize and just give us an idea. Because like you said, for most people, if you talk about, you say African spirituality, the first thing that is going to come to them is what you described there. Yeah, bring me a goat and I will do this for you, or something like that. And I just feel like, uh, it's just like, maybe they have corrupted,
Exactly.
I mean, there's always some people or some groups who come to something which is pure,
Exactly.
and they come and put dirt into it, basically.
Exactly.
So I think, unfortunately, because we don't have lots of people speaking up about African spirituality, and I'm really grateful that you came forward and started to really be vocal about those values and our spirituality, really.
Hmm.
Because personally, for a long time, I thought that we didn't have anything, that Africa was just that, continent, empty continent that has
Mm.
never achieved anything.
Wow.
Because, in at school, because for me, all my school was in France,
Mm.
and they just brainwash you. Okay, so basically, the white people are African saviors,
Mm.
and there's nothing like in those. Because I remember being a little girl, looking like just to find something about African history, not even
Mm.
spirituality, just history. You know, like they will tell us about their les Charlemagne,
Mm.
all those people who make up, their culture and their
Mm.
history. I
Mm.
was like, where are ours?
Wow.
Our ancestors, who are they? So,
Wow.
very young, like from a very early age, I
Mm.
started questioning those things. And you know what? I didn't mention this, and not even in the podcast, I never said this. But being a little girl, I had an accident. I had
Mm.
an accident, and through that accident, I had a near death experience.
Whoa.
And as you were talking about, about people who are scared about, dying, it just made me think about that,
Mm.
because that's something that basically after it happened,
Mm.
I was like, okay, so there's no doubt. There's no doubt there's something after this.
Mm.
And what was really weird is that, for instance, because for me, I'm from a Muslim family.
Mm.
So, I was taught the Quran, all the Muslim values, which I'm very thankful to my parents,
Mm.
because, there are lots of good things, like in anything, because there's always, the corrupted side that come and takes over, basically.
Mm.
But when you really look into the root of Islam and the traditions and the values, I abide, like I live through those traditions today, and I'm
Mm.
thankful to my parents to have taught me that. But the big but that comes is, how the scaremongering
Mm.
thing that comes, or
Mm.
if you don't live like this, you'll go to hell,
Mm.
or if you don't do this, you'll go to hell.
Mm.
Basically, if you're not righteous and you're not following exactly what they're saying,
Mm.
there's no salvation for you. You'll go and burn into, hell.
Wow.
So with that, it's normal that people get scared. Who wants to
Mhm.
burn in fire? No one. And there's no one who is perfect. We all
Mm.
have, even today, I'm sure that, Arvie, I don't know about you, but even today, I'm on this journey I cannot say trying to perfect myself, because I'll never become perfect, but
Mm.
trying to improve myself,
Exactly.
and still sometimes I find myself doing things
Mm.
that I know are not right. And then when I catch myself doing those things, I'm like,
Mm.
okay, this is not right. So let's try to go back on the right path. You
Mm.
see? So, when they keep, just repeating, oh, if you don't do this, you'll go to hell. And we just grow up basically with
Mm.
that fear, thinking about, oh my God, I did all these things,
Mm.
am I, what will happen to me when I die?
Wow.
But when I had that near death experience,
Mm.
something happened inside of me. And I was only a little girl, I think 6 or 7 years old, not older than that.
Mm.
So I was not even understanding what life was about. But I understood that actually this is not the end,
Mm.
because after basically after I was almost gone, I saw the other side, and it was beautiful and peaceful,
Wow.
very peaceful.
I can
I
get
was not expecting. I mean, it was very peaceful. So from what you said, today I can sit here with you, tell you that I know that definitely there's a God. First of all, for those who still doubt it,
Mhm.
there's a God who loves us. I
Yes.
think, He's only love, pure love.
Hi,
You
Boo.
see? So, after that, for 18 years of my life,
Mm.
I went through just, thinking about that over and over again. What was that? I
Mm.
couldn't even talk to my parents about it. I couldn't even put words to explain the experience that I went through. So
Mm.
how can I explain? You know? So that's why, I mean, it was just a parenthesis to say that obviously we need to thrive to be good people,
Mm.
to do what we feel is good. Like whatever you wouldn't like people to do to you,
Mm.
don't do it to other people.
Mm.
You know, because we will die one day. Eventually, we will all die. But
Exactly.
don't be scared about what will happen. Just do your best to be your best version.
And get that.
Thrive, because there are a lot of temptation around us.
Mm.
No one can ever be perfect.
Exactly.
But let's try hard to follow that perfect version of ourselves,
Mm.
the higher self, I guess,
Mm.
who is also there trapped inside,
Mm.
us, with all the physicality,
Mm.
that pulls us in all the directions. It's
Mm.
not, easy to focus on that higher self, but
Mm.
it's there, and we just need to cultivate it.
Exactly. That's the word. Cultivate. The
Yeah.
universe, the universe appreciates effort and not perfection.
Oh,
Because
I love that. Oh,
yes,
I love it. I think you said it all.
yes,
Oh,
effort. Because even in it's you can even materialize it into our schools. When a teacher is seeing a student who is making an effort, trying, even if they are failing, but they keep trying, the teacher cannot fail such a student.
no.
So even in school, we see it. So we have a loving creator who loves to see us make the effort, what we call in spirituality, movement. At least you're making a movement forward. So even our
Yes.
entire educational system, Queen Aida, needs to be changed from marks. Children should get marks and all this shit into seeing the children's efforts, which would change completely our way of teaching people. Because in Christianity, okay, there is hell and there's heaven. You live bad, you're going to burn in fire. So much confusion if there, and they have physicalized everything because the physical body remains here on the earth. So how can physical fire burn a spirit? Impossible. So the whole concept of hellfire is really imagination of Hollywood, and all these things is very very catastrophic. So I really liked your input into that, insisting on effort, which is
Mhm.
basically the language of the universe movement.
Okay. That's beautiful. So, the other question I wanted to ask you
Mm.
is about initiation, because,
Mm.
from a spiritual perspective,
Mm.
most, spirituality, groups, or, yeah, let's just say groups,
Mm.
they have, like, their own schools, or they have people leading, so that, if, for instance, you want to learn Buddhism, you have to go you know in their center, and then learn from a Buddhist teacher, for
Mm.
instance. So
Mm.
for us as Africans, where do we get initiated? Where do we learn about all the things that you know today?
Wow, this is beautiful question. Queen Aida, when we come into this physical dimension, we live a part of ourselves in the higher dimension, right? So we come in the. It's like we are doubles. When you arrive here, you have a part of yourself in the higher dimension, and you are attached by a silver cord. It's elastic. So from time to time, when you're asleep at night, like you went through a near-death experience, it means you went to pay a visit to your higher self. So
Yes.
exactly. So at
I
night,
will share a few words about that when you finish.
please, you have to. So every night, if you're spiritual, you leave your physical body to take information, from somewhere else, and then you bring it back. You take information from somewhere else and you bring it back. So the first initiation that happens to us is to go within, what you mentioned
Mhm.
in the beginning. I really listened very
Yes.
attentively. You said you got to a point in your life when the birth of your child, you went on the inside. You went
Yes.
into the school of Aida. You entered
Mm.
into your own self.
Okay.
You reduced that elasticity of the silver cord. You went within. That is the first initiation. Huh? For those who are Christians, they say Moses went into the desert. Those are spiritual languages. He went into
Mm.
himself. He went into a point of aloneness. He went into a closed room. The Bible says that when you want to seek the Most High, lock the doors of your house and seek your Father, who basically does not, who sees things which are unseen. So we think the
Mm.
room is a physical room. No, the room is you are the room. You go inside of your house, your room, which is inside of you. That is where you
Mm.
connect with your higher self, you connect with your ancestors. So that is the first initiation that happens. The first initiation is the initiation to go within. Many
Yes.
people, when they succeed in the initiation of going in within, they don't need to attend these schools that people build, so-called initiation. But sometimes when
Mm.
the inner initiation fails, then you're obligated to go to Queen Aida to guide you, to go to Brother Flavia to help you. So that's why from Jesus says the kingdom of the Most High is in you. That's where the first
Yes.
initiation happens. So we have to train people to first see how to go within themselves,
Mm.
which is the first step of initiation, which I
Yes.
went through for 6 years, is to go in within myself, to begin to question myself. Because sometimes when you listen from left and right to people, you get distracted. But when you go
Yes.
inside yourself, you then begin to understand who you are. So the first initiation, Queen Aida, is to go in your own room, close the doors,
Mhm.
and go into your own room. So that's what I'll be able to teach people. So if you
Yes.
want to be initiated, you have to experience the most important law in the universe, which is the law of silence. The
Mm.
law of silence is one of the most important laws in the universe. To go into a moment of silence, because with YouTube and Facebook and TikTok, you don't hear yourself.
No.
So
No.
when you go into a moment of silence, what people call as enlightenment, how Buddha went into a moment of silence, you begin to hear yourself. It
Mm.
means early in the morning you are barefooted, you sit in nature, you don't talk, you just hear the birds sing and you listen to yourself. You begin to hear yourself speaking. So the
Okay.
first initiation is the initiation of self, going into within. Now, our
Mm.
ancestors saw it fit that apart from self initiation, because self initiation usually happens when a child gets to the age of puberty.
Okay.
Yeah, because our ancestors were very, very advanced in spirituality. They knew that when a child is born, the universe puts a span of 0 to 12 years. 0 to 12
Mhm.
years, it's when the physical body, the car, is being manufactured. It means it's growing. It's the phase of growth. But at the
Yes.
age of 14, something happens. The body matures. For girls, they begin to menstruate. For boys, they have a
Mhm.
deeper voice, broad shoulders, they have beards. It means the physical body begins to change, right?
Mhm.
At the age of puberty. And in African spirituality, it's at the age of puberty that is when the spirit, the driver, begins to drive the car. It
Mm.
means the baby that you're holding in your arms, the spirit is still locked in a chamber. It is only the physical body which is growing. So at the age of 12, I don't know how old your daughter is. How old is she?
Oh, my son.
Your daughter, the eldest.
Who, Jasmine?
Yes.
The eldest one is Jasmine. She's turning 11
She's
actually
turning
in December.
11. She's turning 11.
Yeah.
So she's almost a year close to her spirit waking up. Because right now her spirit is still much locked in a chamber. So it's at the age
Okay.
of 12 when her spirit will arise and begin to control the body. So you're going to meet a completely different person. When she gets to 12,
Mm-hmm.
teenage children become different. Why? Now the old soul begins to drive his own car. So his past experiences, his past karmas, everything begins to now manifest in the life of the child. So our
Mm.
ancestors saw it fit at that particular phase when children get to the age of puberty, the boys and the girls were separated.
Okay. Yes.
The girls were taken into camps to be taught about what it means to be a woman, and the boys also were taken into camps to know what it means to be a man. So it is
Yeah.
in these camps for a period of 3 to 6 months where they were taught by the priests in those particular camps what it means to be a human being. Because look at the word human, humus, man. When I was in chemistry, they said humus is dark earth. The dark earth, which is very rich, is known as humus. Humus
Okay.
soil is very nutritious soil. It's very
Mm.
dark. Now, the word human has the name HU, which is humus, and the word man in Greek it means ish.
Yes.
So a human is a spiritual being living in a physical body. A humus. That is the meaning
Okay.
of the word human. A humus, it means your physical self. Man is the ish, it means your spirit. That's what makes a human. So they were taught what it means to be a human in these initiation centers that were trained. The boys and the girls were separated for some time. It is in these particular schools or these particular camps they were taught to answer the 5 questions of life. Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Where am I from? Why am I here? What can I do? Where am I going? The 5 questions of life. When they came out of the camps, they knew these 5 questions of life. Who am I? Identity. Where am I from? Source. Why am I here? Purpose. So we have basically those 5 questions of life, the very important, critical 5 questions of life that you as a person who is growing in spirituality, who's going through your spiritual awakening, you have to be able to answer. Who am I? Why am I here? Where am I from? What can I do? And where exactly am I going?
You mentioned the 5 questions that every human being at some point needs to ask themselves.
Hmm.
And like I said, for me, it was only a few years ago that I started,
Hmm.
and I think it was through Mama Kiedi. We
Wow.
both, I know, yeah, I know other people don't know her,
Hmm.
but Mama Kiedi, she had that impact on me.
Wow.
I remember when I lost my mom, she told me, she was very comforting.
Hmm.
We had a chat and she was like, you know, now mom is gone. But from what you told me, she was a good person.
Hmm.
And if if she was all the things that you told me, then she's in a good place. Her soul
Wow.
is in peace. Don't worry.
I get.
But you have to think about you now
Hmm.
because your time will also come one day.
Hmm.
So who are you? Who are you? When she asked me that question, it hit
Wow.
me at
Wow.
the rock. It was just
Hmm.
like as if someone, threw a rock on my face.
Hmm.
I was like, because I knew that it went deeper than that. It wasn't,
Hmm.
oh, I am Ida. Who
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
Ida? You
Hmm.
see, so when she asked me that question, I was like, who am I?
Hmm.
Like, yes, right, who am I? So basically, I just buried my mom. And that basically, that question she asked me just snapped me into that, questioning of, yeah, of identity. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, Ida is just a name. But at the end of the day, who are you? The
Mm.
soul, the thing which is inside of me, moving this body. Who is where? I started questioning myself. So, please let's go through those 5 questions. And if you can also direct people on how to, how they can actually answer those questions for themselves, that will be great.
Ah, what a beautiful explanation. Mama Kiedi has such an impact in my life as well. Her husband was actually my spiritual helper,
Oh wow.
Kumani, which is such an amazing person that really helped me, to know everything that I know today. So I'm so happy that she has such an impact on you. And she asked you the most important question you can ever ask yourself
You have no
is,
idea.
who
You know
are
what? I'm
you?
not going through everything,
Mm,
but I remember you were the one who introduced, you introduced Flavie to Mama Kiedi, and then I
mm,
got to know her. And
mm,
it was really weird because I told her I couldn't keep that to myself. She came to us as a client.
mm,
My husband was building the website, I was helping with the content marketing and all of that.
mm.
And there was something. It was just something beyond the physical,
Wow.
her soul. Because I told her, one day we were on the phone talking about the website, and then all of a sudden we
Mm,
just started talking, and before you know, we were on the phone for 1 hour,
mm,
more than an hour.
mm,
So I was like, I don't know what is happening. I don't know who you are,
mm,
but your soul is
mm.
speaking to mine.
Wow.
There's no other way. There's no other way
Kembo.
I can describe this. Your soul is speaking to mine. There
Kembo.
was just something, basically,
Right.
my soul was just like, blooming, blossoming, just hearing her voice and the type of things she was saying. So
Mm.
I was like, I don't know. Let's, just finish the website. I was like, let's not stop this relationship here, please.
Exactly.
Because I feel like in this relationship, there's something more than just being a client, there's more that needs to come out of this. I
Mm,
cannot tell you what, but please, let's keep this relationship going.
mm.
So she was like, oh, you know how she is. So
She's amazing.
I was like, I was so blessed to have her. you know I was in her group, and I was hearing her talk about being a woman, what it means to be a woman. Because
Mm,
most people think that a woman is just wearing some sexy clothes, and but when I was hearing her just defining what a woman is,
mm,
and what are the values of a woman, how
mm,
should a woman, I was like, I thought I knew what, I thought I knew what it was, it was to be a woman. But
mm,
now she's opening that door, that
mm.
window, to that space that actually I didn't even know that it was in me.
Wow.
That, yeah, that place I occupy in this universe. And I didn't even know that I was occupying that place. So
Wow.
that's how powerful she is. I've been trying to get her to the podcast, to share,
Kembo.
her knowledge,
Please.
because I was like,
Please.
you had that such a big impact,
Mm,
on me as
mm,
a woman. I'm not a bad person, but
mm,
meeting you and
mm.
listening to all the things that you said just helped me to become a better woman, to my
Wonderful.
husband, to my better mom to my kids, but
Mm.
also a better person to myself, my
Wow.
soul. You
Oh,
see? So I really, I'm trying my best to get her. You know how busy she is. It's
mm.
very difficult, but yeah. I mean, that was just a parenthesis, but it was worth it. So please, let's go back to the 5 questions. Sorry, that we all need to ask ourselves.
The 5 questions of life. What a beautiful contribution from you, Queen Aida. The 5 questions of life. Please, my friends of Africa, when you're answering the 5 questions of life, remove the car. Answer the questions as the driver. Because when you
Mm,
answer the question as the car, I also use the symbol of a donkey rider and a donkey. So between the donkey rider and the donkey, the spirit is the donkey rider, the physical body is the donkey. So you have to answer this question as the donkey rider. Who am
mm,
I? Don't say I'm Aida from Mayotte. Why am I here? Oh no, I'm currently in England, in Brighton, and I'm marketing. No. Answer the question as the driver, as the spirit. Who are you as the spirit, as the muntu, as the soul on the inside? Where are you from? You're definitely coming from the higher dimension, from the spiritual kingdom. Why are you here? It's a question of purpose. your reason for being. If you ask me, why am I here? It's not to do architecture. That is for my physical, for the car. But for the driver, what is my purpose, for coming in this particular incarnation? Is basically a question of purpose. The 5 questions of life, you have to be able to know who you are as a spirit, where you're coming from, and also why you are here, which is basically your purpose. And what can you do as a spirit? You are basically equipped with particular spiritual gifts that you have. And the scripture says the 9 fruits of the spirit. It means you have certain capabilities in you to impact humanity. You have to be able to know those things to be able to come and bless humanity and be very effective. And also the last question, which is, where am I going? It means after this particular life, where is your destination next? So these 5 questions of life is what our ancestors made sure the children understood at puberty, coming out of initiation, and is set as a foundation for them to continue with their life. So the first initiation, I said, is to go within yourself. The second initiation, as a community, we can organize ourselves to have certain particular places where our children can go to learn about who exactly they are on the inside. So there were they also had temples people could go to be able to be initiated. So if you want to get initiated into African spirituality, go within yourself, ask yourself these 5 questions of life, and the scripture says, when you seek, you shall find. So you one day you'll be led to one particular teacher, to a particular teacher, and things like that. But if you want to be initiated into the Zorobantu paradigm, what we teach, you have to go through our classes. The classes is something that will help you to understand the universe and how it functions and who you are as a person. We can be able to guide you through that particular process, but you have to first do the work within yourself. First of all, do the work within yourself. So the scripture says, whoever has will be given more. So you cannot come dumb. You have to have something, and then you will be given more. Because even if you don't have, even what you have will be taken away from you, the scriptures say. So I'm really, really blessed. I hope you'll be blessed by these 5 questions of life. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. You can just please subscribe to Self Upgrade podcast. You're gonna love it. I want many of Insorobantu community to subscribe to this particular podcast. Amazing contents are coming weekly, I think. Also on Spotify. Also on Spotify as well.
How blessed are we? I'm so happy that Arvie basically spent all this time with us today. I'm really grateful, and I hope that you enjoyed this discussion, because I definitely did, and I learned so much from the conversation. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to help us grow the channel. Check out the other episodes that we did before this one, because I'm sure that you'll learn a lot from those as well. So yes, thank you very much for following this interview until the end. So I will see you in the next episode. Bye.